This is lesson 4.3a. We are going to be writing and solving addition and subtraction equations. So let's start by opening up your math notebook to the next clean page. Write 4.3a on the top. And we're going to start by reading example 1. It says, George had some plastic figures. After he bought 7 more figures, he had 25. How many plastic figures did George have before he bought more? So think of this as a story. George has some amount of plastic figures. We don't know how many he has, so I'm just going to put a blank there. Then he bought 7 more figures. So he's adding 7 to the collection that he already had. So after he bought 7 more figures, he had 25. So then he had 25 total figures. So George has some amount. He buys 7 more, then he has 25 figures. We have to figure out how many plastic figures George had before he bought more. So what number goes in this blank here? What number did he start with? So you're used to seeing equations written with a blank there or a number that we're going to be filling in that box. This year we learned that instead of using a blank or a box, we can use a letter to represent any unknown number. So I'm going to use an X here. X is going to represent the number of figures George had before he bought more. So now we want to figure out what X is. So in order to figure out what X is, we're going to start by drawing a dotted line down straight where our equal sign is. Our equal sign separates the left and the right side of the equation. So I'm drawing a dotted line down the middle of my equal sign. That way I have a left side of the equation. The left side is x plus 7, and I have a right side of the equation, which is 25. Now remember, an equation has to stay balanced. The left side of the equation is equal to the right side of the equation. So first we draw a dotted line down the middle of our equation. Next we're going to circle our variable because our goal is going to be to get that variable alone. We want x alone on that left side of the equation. So now we're looking to see, well, what is with x? Attached to x on the left side of the equation is that plus 7. Well, we don't want plus 7 there. We're going to have to use the opposite operation of addition to get rid of that plus 7. Well, what is the opposite of addition? The opposite of addition is subtraction. So to get rid of that plus 7 on the left side, we're going to have to subtract 7 on the left side. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. So that's the important phrase here that we're going to keep saying to keep our equation balanced. Well, if I subtract 7 on the left, I'm going to have to subtract 7 on the right. So now let's look at what remains in our equation. X, let's bring down the X. Plus 7 minus 7, well, 7 minus 7, that cancels out, and that gives us 0. So it's like we have x plus 0 here. Well, x plus 0 is really just x, so we're not going to write that plus 0. We're just going to leave it as x. Let's bring down the equal sign. So I have x equals, and now on the right side of the equation, I'm going to read it from top to bottom. Well, what's 25 minus 7? 25 minus 7 is 18. So my answer here is x equals 18. That means that George had 18 figures before he bought 7 more. Now, an important thing with solving equations is that we can check it. We can check our solution of the equation, this x equals 18, by plugging it back into our original equation. So I'm just going to rewrite my original equation, which was x plus 7 equals 25. And now I found out that x equals 18. So I'm going to take that x equals 18 and plug it into my equation. So then I'll have 18 plus 7 should equal 25. Well, let's check it. What's 18 plus 7? 25 equals, bring down the 25. Check. 25 equals 25. One other important thing for us to notice is in this little bubble over here, it says operations that undo each other have an inverse relationship. Subtracting 7 is the inverse of adding 7. So in your notebook, I want you to write inverse operations. Inverse operations are opposite operations. So what is the opposite of addition? The opposite of addition is subtraction. And what's the opposite of multiplication? The opposite of multiplication is division. So we have to remember that addition and subtraction are opposites, and multiplication and division are opposites. So you should have this copied in your notebook. Next, let's look at number 6. So write number 6 in your notebook. Number 6 says 12 equals y minus 11. First step, draw a dotted line down the middle of the equal sign. Next, circle that variable. Our goal is to get the variable alone. So we have 12 equals y minus 11. We have to look to see what is attached to that y. Well, attached to the y is, on the same side of the equal sign, is minus 11. So what is the opposite of minus 11? How are we going to get rid of a minus 11? We're going to have to add 11. So whatever we do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other side of the equation. So now let's look. On the right side of the equation, we have minus 11 plus 11. Those cancel out. Minus 11 plus 11 is 0. So all that remains on that right side of the equation is y. And now let's look at the left side of the equation. 12 plus 11. 12 plus 11 is 23. So y equals 23. So now if I want to check this, I can plug it in. So I would have 12 equals y minus 11. So let's plug in wherever I see y, I'm going to plug in what y equals. So I have 23 minus 11, bring down the rest, equals 12. So let's see, what's 23 minus 11? 23 minus 11 is 12. Does 12 equal 12? Yes, it does. It checks. Last question, let's try number 7. So for 7, we have 22 equals 13 plus a. So first step, draw a dotted line down the middle where the equal sign is. Second step, circle the variable, because our goal is to get that variable a alone. So now I look to see what is attached to the a on the same side of the equal sign. On the same side of the equal sign, the right side of the equal sign, we have a 13. Well, is that 13 a plus 23 plus 13? Sorry, is that 13 a plus 13 or a minus 13? I don't see a positive or a negative sign, but since I don't see it, it means that it is a positive. So we have plus 13 there. What's the opposite of plus 13? The opposite of plus 13 is going to be minus 13. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. Minus 13. So on the right side of my equation, I have plus 13, minus 13. Those are going to cancel. All that remains on my right side of the equal sign is a. What does a equal? A is going to equal 22 minus 13, which is 9. You can put it in your calculator. So to check it, we're going to plug it in. 22 equals 13 plus a. So let's take that value for A. We said that A equals 9. Anywhere I see an A, I'm going to plug in 9. Otherwise, I'm going to rewrite the rest of the equation. So I evaluate that right side. 13 plus 9 is 22. Does 22 equal 22? Check. Yes, it does.